All right, here's an explanation of how to do number 5 from the spiral review number 2. As you'll see in the directions, it tells you to find the vertex and the factored form of the function x squared minus 5x plus 6. So to find the vertex, the very first step is you have to find the axis of symmetry, which is going to give you your x value. So you'll see on my notes here that I went ahead and wrote out my a, b, and c from the equation, and then I used the formula x equals negative b over 2a, and I just plugged in the numbers. And just remember that if b is already a negative, then when you plug it in, you just want to change it to its opposite sign, which is positive 5. And then I just took it over 2 times a, which is 1, and that gives us 5 halves. Then your step number 2 is you're going to plug 5 halves into the equation, the original equation given to you. So you'll see that I have 5 halves squared minus 5 times 5 halves plus 6. And I went ahead and worked that out in fraction form. So all I'm doing here is I'm just taking 5 squared to get 25 and 2 squared to get 4. And then I'm just taking 5 over 1 times 5 over 2 to get 25 over 2. But honestly, I'll tell you that I really prefer decimals instead of fractions. So in this next line, you'll see that I did change both of those fractions into decimals by dividing both of the fractions. So 25 divided by 4 gives us 6.25, and 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. And then I worked that out, and then I just converted it back into a fraction because it's an easy one. Negative 0.25 is negative 1/4. And so there's your vertex. You just take the x value that you got up here for step 1, and then you take the y value that you got here for step 2, put it together, and that's going to be your vertex, which is going to be that, that bending point of the graph. All right, so then the second thing that they asked you to do for problem number 5 is to find the factored form. This is something that you learned in Unit 1, so I'm not sure if you're struggling with this part or not, but all you're doing here is you're just converting that trinomial into 2 binomials. And so what I mean by that is you're just having 2 sets of parentheses, and you're just going to ask yourself a question or 2 questions. What 2 numbers will add up to negative 5, the middle term, and what 2 numbers will multiply together to give you the last term, the positive 6? And so there's a few combinations like 1 times 6 and 2 times 3, but then you have to play around with the signs to get the right combination. So negative times a negative gives you a positive, and negative plus a negative gives you a negative, and that's the combination that we want to have. So as you'll see, it has to be negative 2 and negative 3. And so since those are the 2 factors, then you just plug it into those 2 binomials, and it's x minus 2 times x minus 3. All right, hope that helps you. If you have any other questions, feel free to give me a call.